remember is always feeling the need to impress my parents. And I did that with my grades. You can't argue about it, an A is objectively good. Now looking back, I tied it with my self-worth. If I wasn't earning A's, then what else was I good for? I applied to a ridiculously competitive program in high school, wrote clinical reports, participated in clinical rotations, and honestly, I could read EKGs better. I had more certifications than I do now. I was an emergency medical responder, I taught first aid, competed in first aid and CPR, and I graduated top 5% of my class. And my parents were so proud. Graduating college was hard. I graduated a semester later than expected. I didn't take my MCAT in time. No honors, no extracurriculars, nothing special. I burnt myself out. And on graduation day, I genuinely wondered why my family had come up to watch me walk across that stage when I felt like I had nothing to show the last 4 years. Between bouts of, now looking back, was absolutely depression. I studied for my stinking MCAT. It took me 2 years. Finally got my score back and managed to score in the 23rd percentile on cars. And I was devastated. So devastated, I got back with my ex. The same one that told me that my mother, who had cancer, should go back to work if we were so worried about money. Great choices were not made. I retook my MCAT 3 months later, and my score jumped 10 points. Suddenly my reach schools were tangible. My process for applying to medical school was the least organized process I have ever orchestrated in my life, but somehow I got into my only reach school. I remember getting the acceptance email first. I read it about 20 times and then screenshotted it just in case I accidentally deleted it later. I remember telling my parents in the kitchen that I had just gotten my first and only acceptance to Emory, and hearing something along the lines of, "Oh, that's nice, but can you get into a school in Florida?" And my heart sank. The whole process of applying to medical school was an uphill battle. And I had even less of an idea what I was doing as a first-generation college and medical student. I had friends reach out and tell me that I deserved this opportunity. And I'm glad that they did, because the imposter syndrome hit me instantly. My personal statement revolved around my mother, her resilience, and the impact that her cancer diagnosis had on my decision to pursue medicine. She never offered to read it, and didn't seem interested when I'd offered to her. And I was hurt by her lack of interest in my journey, even after I had mentioned that she was such a large part of it. I think she feels guilty about the negative impact that her cancer had on our family. But I always wanted her to see otherwise by showing her how much she motivated me. Things like that take time, I suppose. I just felt like I had climbed Mount Everest. But apparently my parents just wanted me to jump off a cliff instead. Because shortly after my acceptance, I was told they were divorcing. Now my medical career felt like the catalyst for disaster, because our house was going to be sold. when I officially moved to Georgia. They were waiting on me. My parents didn't seem thrilled when I got into medical school, and now I'm not thrilled because I felt trapped with the consequence of losing my childhood home if I left. Eventually, my parents made up, and about 10% of peace was restored. I found out I received a scholarship that brought the cost of school down to what it would have been if I stayed in Florida. Now, as someone with absolutely no savings or financial literacy, I couldn't believe it. It's still expensive as hell, but it hurt a little bit less. I told my mom about it, and I remember her damn near shrugging. I mean, I hadn't really done anything to earn it, but I was so proud of myself. I'd overcome all these obstacles in life, gotten into medical school with a scholarship, and my parents were indifferent. Felt like my graduation day all over again. I was disappointed in myself that I hadn't achieved enough to earn their attention. But as July 2021 approached, I realized that I had worked undeniably hard for this, and that I didn't need my parents to tell me that they were proud of me just so that I could feel it too. My aha moment came when I was accepted to medical school. Because being a physician is a dream of mine, and it was finally obvious to me that I wasn't doing it to prove anything to anyone. I am proud